Hey everybody, Questwise here. Today we're going to be talking about the newest product from Palladium Books. It's called Secrets of the Atlanteans, and it's Dimension Book number 15 in their line of Dimension Books for their Rifts line. Let me just say this right off the bat. It is so chocked full of goodness that this might be a little bit of a longer video because I want to kind of skim through at least everything that the book has to offer, including the amazing art by Chuck Walton. There's many other artists in there as well, but I would say that in this book alone, and I will put a picture of it right up in here, Chuck has created one of my newest favorite pieces of Rifts art that I've ever seen, and I am hopefully someday going to find him and have him sell me a copy of the print of it. Anyhow, let's get started right away and dive right into this book because there's a lot to cover. First off, this book is, as the name implies, Secrets of the Atlanteans. We got to see some Atlanteans back in excuse me, World Book number 2, which was just Rifts Atlantis, and we got sort of a sneak peek into the Atlanteans' world, into the Splagorth who now own Atlantis and all the crazy slave trading and all the stuff that's going on there. This book works really well with the Atlantis book, as well as the Splendid Dimensional Market, which is World Book number 21. So if you want to set some games and Rifts involving in Atlantis and the Atlanteans and stuff, as well as their strange twist on magic and strange tattoos and whatnot, those two books would be great additions to have, in addition to this book in particular. One of the things I really love about Palladium is that their writing is so fantastic. The fluff, the background, the stories. Each one of these books that they put out is such a joy to read. And while it's chock full of great new rules and great new spells and all these kind of things, there's so much flavor involved that just reading this book alone, it spurred me into like dozens and dozens of new adventure ideas that I want to try out now. Reading this book, talking about like pyramid magic and dimensional travel and the history of Atlantis, and this goes into a lot of that great stuff. Where Atlantis came from, where the Atlanteans came from, how they coincided with pre-Rifts Earth, how they interact with the current Rifts Earth, how they interact with different dimensions and vampires, and you'll see that in the book. There's a lot of talk about how the Atlanteans, their big first crusade was against the vampires and against vampire intelligences across dozens of different dimensions. But this book alone, just in the fluff and just in the background stories, makes me want to use like the Phase World books and the Three Galaxies guides and just go crazy with dimensional travel. Think of it as like a planescape setting sort of in D&D, but kicked up like 25 notches. Just amazing stuff. Makes me want to just put together a group of characters and just go dimension hopping around the multiverse. First of all, because this book is about the Atlanteans, it covers all manner of their society and their background and what's left of them and the history behind them and stuff. But right off the bat, we get a great breakdown of all the different Atlantean clans that exist. There are 11 of them, 11 different clans, all very distinct, all with very unique histories and backgrounds and awesome characters that exist within those clans and stuff as well too. Lots and lots of flavor here, lots of great background ideas. Following that is the True Atlantean RRC, or Racial Character Class. Now, you could play that completely by itself, just a racial character class. I'm an Atlantean. Have this sort of like cultural background and this heritage and stuff that spans generations. But by sort of using the fluff and the flavor of any one of these other 11 clans, and they all have very unique names, and I will try not to pronounce them here because I will only embarrass myself. But by using the Atlantean, True Atlantean RRC with the flavor of one of these clans, you've got a wealth of stuff that you can do as far as character building and character generation and character backgrounds and an amazing story building aspects just based around your character being an Atlantean. After we get our new RRC of a true Atlantean, we have some new OCCs, occupational character classes, and there are 5 of them, and they span everywhere from the new Tattooed Defender all the way to the Tattooed Voyager. If you don't know anything about Rift's Atlantis or Atlanteans, tattoo magic is a very important part of their storyline. I believe, if I remember reading the book correctly, it's rumored that they learned tattoo magic from the dragons of Rift China, or of China. And it's become a part of their cultural heritage. And almost every true Atlantean, has some form of tattoo that they can invoke to create special effects. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but there are dozens and dozens and dozens of different tattoos. But every Atlantean has at least a couple. So we get 5 new OCCs that are based on the tattoo magic. And then we have the Sunaj. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Sunaj, Sunaj. They are a secret society that's built into one of the Atlantean clans. And so secret that most of the Atlanteans don't even know that they exist, or if they do know that they exist, that they don't know that they're actually that they're actually Atlanteans. But we get this new great. Now these have been hinted at before, and we've gotten a few other cool things, but this goes into great detail and all the secrets behind the Sunaj and their sort of operational techniques and the sort of like mini cells that they work out of, and different sort of like espionage tactics that they use, as well as some of the sort of shadowy ways that they operate in the Rift's universe. We get some new exclusive Sunaj OCCs, including the Assassin and the Shadow Mage. And right after that, because of the shadow magic that the Sunaj use in their tactics and their techniques, we get a whole section on shadow magic. And we get 15 levels worth of shadow magic. It's amazing. Everything from animate shadows all the way up to shadow self spell, which uses an ungodly amount of PPE, of potential psychic energy. I'm talking 1,000 points of potential psychic energy for this spell in shadow self, which basically transforms your physical body into a creature of the shadow realm, shadow dimension, excuse me. So really awesome stuff there. 15 levels of shadow magic. Then after that, we get a whole bunch of new OCCs. We get the Crystal Mage. We get the Stone Master. I believe we've seen the Stone Master before. It's just a revised look at it, with some really awesome new magic and techniques and stuff coming up to that as well too. We get a small section on playing Atlanteans using other OCCs that we've seen before, and any of the other Rifts books. And it talks about things like how Atlanteans don't want to use any form of cybernetics because it interferes with their tattoo magic. How they've interacted and how they've come across other OCCs, occupational character classes, from other parts of the Rift's world and Megaverse in total, and how some of them have taken up some of those character classes as well too, and how you can use the RCC of the True Atlantean to play some of those other OCCs as well too. Then we get a cool section on crystal magic, and it's just like it sounds, using crystals and gems to as a sort of earth magic and drawing upon those and creating those as well too. We get 15 levels of those, as well as some artifacts, some crystal artifacts, some really cool stuff in there. Everything from like the crystal orbs and crystal balls and that kind of stuff. Some really, really awesome weapons and stuff in there too. Next, we have the tattoo magic, and this is a big section on tattoos because it's such a ingrained part of the Atlantean society. We get a wealth of new stuff in here on tattoo magic, and it is phenomenal. It is really, really well done. Almost every tattoo that they describe in here, they give you a drawing, some sort of artwork that that fits the description of the tattoo, so that you know exactly what it looks like, and kind of the places that you can have it placed on your body, how to activate those tattoos in such a way that they create special magical effects, or they give you magical weapons or magical defenses, even some dimensional things as well too. But there are 11 types of different tattoos, with dozens of different options within each one of those categories. So there's like dimensional tattoos, there are exclusive Sunaj shadow tattoos, there are animal tattoos, there are weapon specific tattoos. So there's 11 different types, and then dozens of different tattoos within those types as well too. After that, we get a whole section on Atlantean pyramids and how they work. Now and I love this part about the Atlantis thing. I love to think that in real world, in real world history, we get this mention of Atlantis, and Plato wrote about this, and that it was outside the Pillars of Hercules, and it was this lost continent. But I love the idea that throughout our entire world, there are pyramidal structures in Egypt, in South America, in North America, in China. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of different places where there are structures that are very pyramid shaped, and they're very, very similar to one another. Though some of those differ a little bit in style, they all have the same sort of basic structure. I love to think that there was a time when Atlantis reigned within the Atlantic Ocean, and that it was these people who came upon the idea of building pyramids, and by traveling throughout the world spread this idea, this architectural idea. What the guys over at Palladium do is that they throw an extra ability to that, an extra sort of step above that, and that the Atlanteans, the pyramids hold a sense of power. They're sort of like dimensional gateways, and they can do dozens and dozens of different things, from dimensional travel to healing to powering things like ley lines and earth travel, as well as dimensional travel, as well as controlling rifts and creating openings to different worlds and different galaxies. This is probably one of my favorite parts about the book. I love that it fully details out the pyramids, how they work, and even gives you floor plans for different types of pyramids. So you get a floor plans for different types of power pyramids, healing pyramids, travel pyramids. Amazingly well done. Those guys did a great job of detailing out these pyramids and how they work. And I love the idea that the Atlanteans, and again, it goes in a little bit more detail about how they sort of don't have a sort of homeland anymore, and how ancient Atlantis differs from modern day Atlantis in the Rifts universe. Finally, in the book, we get a full detailed section on the shadow dimension and some of the crazy creatures that live there as well too. So the Sunaj assassins and Sunaj OCCs, they tap into the shadow dimension and use shadow magic to their to its highest ability, in the things that they do as shadow mages and shadow assassins. But the shadow dimension is a very dangerous place, and a lot of it talks about how a lot of different scholars and historians in the Rifts universe think that the shadow dimension had been best not to be toyed with, and that it was a very dark and dangerous and evil place. And the very last chapter of this book goes into full detail about the shadow dimension and what it's like to travel there, and some of the crazy, hideous creatures that live there, from shadow demons to shadow lords and a bunch of other crazy stuff in there. All in all, this book, fantastic. It differs a lot from the previous book that they did concerning the coalition fight against the demons, demon incursions. This is a little bit more of a sort of open source book, and that you can use it basically anywhere, and it's not just a sort of story focused type thing. That this is a sort of dimension book that you can use all across the Rifts universe, and not only just on Rifts Earth, but in, like I said, I want to use this to create a sort of dimension hopping adventure campaign where I build a group of characters and players where we're going to explore everything from the three galaxies to rifts, space to under seas. I mean, I want to try to use the rifts, the Atlantis idea, the pyramids, and controlling the ley lines and stuff that are going to be just awesome, hopefully awesome. But again, this is a great book, Secrets of the Atlanteans. If you haven't had a chance, it's brand new. Go check it out. It's fantastic. It's probably one of the well, I love all the books anyway, but right now it's my favorite. But it's because it's brand new, and I still am reading every detail and going back through and finding new stuff every time I leaf through it. So if you haven't had a chance, check it out. I will provide a link below to where you can pick it up over at the Palladium Books web store. And until next time, I'm Questwise, and we're out.